Good morning, friends. It's Rhonda here with the Salem, Ohio Public Library. I want to share a little bit of information today about passwords and how they get hacked. So I know that I learn better when I understand what's behind the suggestion. So when everyone says, make sure you have a strong password, or make sure that if you get hacked, you reset your password, I never understood why. And now that I've done the research, I want to share it with all of you. So, how do passwords get hacked? I want to set it up a little bit for you. Okay. So let's imagine the movies. We've all watched those movies where there was this large missile that was about to be launched, and someone needed to go in and sort of, hack into the system and stop the missile from launching, right? Or maybe there's a scene where someone has to hack into a computer to unveil a large secret that's going to destroy the world. And someone sits down in that chair and they type in a few login attempts, and third time's a charm, and most of the time, boom, they're in and they save the day. Well, I just want to reassure you that it actually doesn't work that way. When hackers are trying to get passwords, they don't guess them one by one in a password field. Instead, they have a toolbox of software programs and databases to help them figure out the right credentials that will work. So, one way that passwords are hacked are actually data breaches. First, most passwords that hackers have access to are stolen in large data breaches from popular online services. So I know LinkedIn has had some issues. First American Financial Corporation, I believe this was in 2019. They were actually one of the most well-known data breaches, and they affected a large amount of the country. eBay was a big one. I believe that was in 2017 or 18. There was a lot of information, personal information leaked. And I also know that Adobe had a problem as well. So the passwords stolen in those breaches are compiled in large databases. There are less well-known websites that also get hacked due to poor security protocols, but they're just a tad bit less likely than the data breaches. They then use dumps of data to perform something called credential stuffing. Credential stuffing is a type of cyber attack in which attackers collect stolen account credentials. These are typically lists of usernames and or email addresses and their passwords, and it's often from a data breach. They then use those credentials with software that attempts to log into lots and lots of websites. So it's also known as list cleaning and breach replay. They automatically test every username and password combination in the database to see if any successfully log on to another website, such as your bank, perhaps. A second option for password hackers is something called brute force. There are multiple ways that passwords get hacked. However, the one I talked about previously and this one are the two top ways that hackers get your information. So in this situation, if a hacker knows an email address for a user's account, they can use something called password spraying. That's a type of brute force attack where the attacker will brute force logins based on lists of usernames with default passwords on an application. So over here, we just sort of have a little guideline here. And so it says an attacker utilizes a hacking tool. and then the hacking tool attempts multiple logins, the system returns a valid or an invalid response. This attack is found commonly where the application or admin sets a default password for the new user. They then test known passwords, and these are pretty common things: A, B, C, D, E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, birthdays, because there is a finite amount of birthdays that you can possibly put in. So that's why they often say don't use your birthday. But anyways, the bots are running the test, and only if a match is found does a hacker then use the valid credentials to try taking over the account. There are at least 280 million malicious login attempts per day, including 300,000 attempted logins per hour from a single botnet. The third option I'm going to talk about today is actually called phishing. So for anyone who's perhaps watched the online scam segment of my videos, phishing it's not a stranger, because it is a very real tactic that hackers use to collect information. With large databases full of email addresses, it's very easy for hackers to send millions of emails every day. So the actual definition for phishing is the fraudulent practice of sending emails purporting to be from reputable companies in order to induce individuals to reveal personal information such as passwords and credit card numbers. The person might then click in the email and be sent to a login page that looks absolutely perfectly replicated to the reputable company. And then they say something like, oh, you need to update your information, or you need to update your credit card number because it's showing that it's expired. And lots of times people will fall for that. So just a little more insight on that, though. It's a much less likely way, but it is still very possible that hackers will actually hack into your computer. I know that I've had this question a lot too, and sometimes the way that hackers get access to that is through phishing emails. So it is much easier for them to use other options that we discussed here, but there are other ways that hackers can steal your info. Sometimes phishing emails contain malicious software or malware, either in attachments or in embedded links. By downloading the malware to their computer, people increase the likelihood of having a keylogger installed that can then capture their passwords and send it to a hacker. People also might download ransomware that allows hackers to extort you for money or information in order to get your data back. So this is why it's important to have a really strong, good password. Here, there's just a little grid for you that shows what you can do to create that strong password and what you should utilize on your keyboard to do so. Okay, everyone, I hope that brought you some insight, and get in there and change your passwords.